Alice, we've been over this before, remember? We're going to go someplace warm for Christmas. Maybe Disney World. Alice loves Disney World. I took her there for Christmas 2 years ago and booked us into a room overlooking a man-made savanna populated with African wildlife. Giraffes grazed not 10 feet from our balcony. Alice was so entranced that I had to coax her to leave the hotel and visit the parks. Or maybe, I said, clearing my throat and then drawing out the phrase, trying to add a tantalizing note to my tone. Depending on how things turn out Tuesday, we could spend Christmas in Washington. The decorations at the White House are gorgeous. The tree in the Blue Room is 18 feet tall. Is Washington warm? Alice asked, suspicion creeping into her voice. Not in December, I admitted. But the National Zoo has pandas. And I could book us into a very fancy hotel with a jacuzzi and a spa. We could get pedicures and massages. Alice was quiet for a moment. I could tell she was tempted. Alice loves jacuzzis and pedicures. And how many times had she told me that someday she wanted to see a panda? A near-drowning accident at the age of 18 had permanently altered my sister's intellect, abilities, and personality. But at the core of her being, she's still a Toomey, shackled by the weight of responsibility and the Protestant work ethic. It's pretty ironic, considering we're Catholic. Well, Alice is. At this point, I consider myself religiously abstentious. Nothing against it if that's what works for you, but I choose not to participate. Of course, Mom was born Lutheran. She converted when she married our father, solemnly promising to raise her children according to the tradition and teachings of the Church of Rome, faithfully following through on her vows. So maybe the whole Protestant work ethic thing came from her side of the family? That made sense and explained why the inexorable pull of duty proved greater to Alice than the promise of pleasure. I wasn't really surprised. I can't leave Freckles and Dave home again at Christmas, Alice said. They get too lonely. You come here, Lucy. We could go to the ice sculpture contest, she said, adopting the same wheedling tone I'd been using a moment before. And we could decorate our own tree, a really big one. I still have Mom's ornaments. You could meet my friends and we could go to midnight mass with all the candles. It's so pretty. Lucy, you should go to mass more often. As wheedling edged toward scolding, Alice sounded so much like Mom that for a moment it was as if Sally Toomey had risen from her grave and pulled the phone from the hand of her older daughter to give the younger a good talking to. I know, but I've been very busy, I said, giving the same excuse I'd always used on Mom. We'll go to Mass at Christmas, I promise. We can go to the National Cathedral. It's about 20 times as big as St. Agnes's and has all kinds of stained glass in the windows. The National Cathedral is an Episcopalian congregation, but services there are so formal and the liturgy so similar to the Catholic rite that Alice wouldn't know the difference. And I love the architecture of the building. It feels more like visiting a museum than going to church, which, as far as I'm concerned, is infinitely preferable. No, Alice said firmly. I want to have Christmas in Nilson's Bay. You haven't been home since the funeral, Lucy. That's 8 years. 8 years? Had it really been that long since our parents died? I did a little calculation in my head, counting back to 2008, a terrible year. The year when both our parents were killed in a freak, single-car accident. Also when my boss lost his